Well, we're back. Good morning. My name is Cheryl Cohen. I am the president of Arthritis Consumer Experts and am with you this morning with Dr. Clayon Hamilton. He has the privilege of being our first interviewee here at the KT Canada Annual Scientific Meeting, where for the next 2 days we're going to be talking about knowledge translation, the science of it, the implementation of it, and very specifically about how it matters to patients, which obviously I'm a person who's been living with rheumatoid arthritis for 30 years. Clayon is someone who is growing his expertise, is already considered an expert, but through his, that's a surprise to you, but through his postdoctoral work ongoing now at the Department of Physical Therapy at UBC, and at Arthritis Research Canada, Canada's largest clinical research team with centers in Vancouver, Calgary, and Laval. Dr. Clayon Hamilton is really interested in not only knowledge translation, which is what brings us together here, trying to take the Greek to the street, which is what we call in our own organization the process of knowledge translation. He's taking this high-tech, mostly Latin language that is healthcare really, and put it into language for everyday people, everyday use. So, may I call you Clayon?
Oh, yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, as
Sarah.
always, it's a joy. We've interviewed you a number of times, and we really appreciate the time you've taken away from the conference to sit with us here for a few minutes. So let's just dive right in. So although we've interviewed you before, and people can still enjoy those videos on YouTube on our Arthritis Broadcast Network channel, we want to just ask you to take a couple of seconds and tell us, who's Clayon? Where does he come from? What are your interests? What are you keen about these days?
Yes, so I started off my graduate work looking at early recognition of knee osteoarthritis and emerging chronic knee pains. How can we detect it early so that we can stave off those detrimental effects of limiting the individual's activities? And so from there, my focus was always on measuring health and measuring the subjective measurements. And I've taken that to my postdoctoral work now. Having done my graduate work at Western University, I'm now at the University of British Columbia, where I'm also focused on measurement, but this time we're looking at how can we measure the quality of patient engagement in research such that patient-researcher partnerships are effective.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so we had this little debate before we went on air about whether we should be measuring me, right, in this process. And you're a staunch believer in the yes answer, and I'm maybe a little bit not quite there yet. I'm not a full convert because I think it's really difficult to measure what matters to patients. So maybe I can start there and say, how do you go about scientifically measuring what matters to the patient in the process of research?
Yes. So to answer your question, the first thing we did was to ask patients what matters to them.
Good. That's a good start.
That's where we started.
As in the context of redoing research.
In the context of doing research.
Okay.
So in the context of patients being part of research teams, we went and individuals would have had this experience as patients, what we call patient partners.
Right.
So they partner with researchers on the research teams, so we could call them as well co-researchers.
Right.
And we asked them, so what was your experience like? Tell us what was meaningful to you. And having gotten there through interviews, what's most important to them for being engaged in research, we then went in and found those key things and asked another set of individuals who were patient partners in research to tell us, rate these statements about what's most important to patients when they're engaged. Tell us what are the most important of the important.
So you had one group come up with the initial list.
Yes.
And then another group look at the list and say, yes, we agree or we disagree.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I gather there was a high degree of agreement.
There was a high degree of agreement. That's correct.
What do you think for people? This is kind of a tangential, but close to your subject expertise. What do you think, Clayon, people who live with, let's make it specific to arthritis because it's the area in which we both work.
Yes.
And I live with it every day. What do you think we get out of it? Like, what do you think, apart from the measurement part, sort of anecdotally, from your own experience working closely with patients in research, what do you see happen to them in the process as people?
When what I see when patients partners on we have 4 patient partners on my research, and the team of research that I work on, and what we find is that interacting with these individuals, it's a tremendous experience for me to kind of learn about how individuals living with different health conditions, arthritis specifically, are able to balance life. But I think they get from it learning more about how research is done, learning about how you can start a project and see it through completion, and the potential benefit of changing the way research is done, making research more impactful. So the results at the end of the day will not just be sitting in a journal somewhere, but through the help of these patient partners, we put it in language that's more relevant to patients all around. And I think they get the benefit of also having sort of patients told during interviews, patients told me that it add value to their life because they at some point say it kind of took away from having health conditions, took away from their involvement in different activities.
So this brought a new dimension.
So this brought a new dimension to their life where they're able to actively get involved in stuff that can make a change.
I think that's, volunteerism in general does that for someone. And it's a fundamental sort of guiding principle for Canadians. I think we are very altruistic. I think being a volunteer or committing some of your time to volunteering to a cause gives your life, great meaning.
Completely agree.
So all of those. So that's sort of an added blessing of getting involved in work such as that you undertake. When you think about this conference, Clayon, and knowledge translation, where do you see the big opportunities? Where's the big open landscape for you in the work that you do? Something you just said about having patients involved, and then when you try to get the information about that research out, they help you do that kind of translation. We're still a long way from making that a perfect art form. So where do you see the opportunities in that?
So looking at patient-oriented research, I think it's about getting the relevant voices at the table throughout the entire research process, including the knowledge translation aspect. And patients are one of the key stakeholders in sort of the research process. So in getting their input, I think definitely what we find is that we'll be doing priorities that are set at the start of the research will be more relevant. And so when we do the research, the way that it's designed will be around, it will be done in a way that the intervention will be more applicable to the patient population. Yeah,
that makes sense to me, big time. And it's so funny, there's a really well-known KT knowledge broker in our community, Alison Hoons. And I was at a talk of hers once, and she put up a slide, and it showed form, and so it showed this perfectly designed sidewalk, and then it showed function, and it showed where people actually walked off of the path. And so that's really what you're saying, is if we're going to design what in jargon is called an intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So it's putting an ice pack on your knee to help with pain and swelling is an intervention.
Yes.
So there are knowledge translation interventions
Yes.
that are either going to work or not, and we get closer to them working if in fact we have patients involved in developing that science.
To create the right context.
Yeah, excellent. When you're thinking about the panel that you and I are going to speak on, they've given us the dubious honor of closing the conference. So they're either going to be riveted to their seats or everyone will be gone for their weekend. But let's hope it's the former, not the latter. But we're going to be talking about measuring patient engagement in particular. There are two panels actually on this topic. So tell me what you're looking forward to with that panel.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to get a sense of to get a sense of a response to the ideas that we've been working on our team with 4 patient partners as a part of the team. What do other researchers and patients and other knowledge users think about what we've been doing, so that we can have that sort of discussion with the audience and see where we can make improvements, and to have a final product that will improve the landscape of how health research is done and how patient-oriented research is done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As I was driving here this morning, I was thinking about what I've seen in research over the years, and that's where I started volunteering about 28 years ago. And it's changed so much. I mean, I used to be the only patient for miles and miles and miles. You never saw another patient involved. To now you see many people like me at meetings and whatnot. And knowledge translation has been the last frontier in my mind in really meaningfully involving patients. However, patient leadership in our country, I'm thinking of the organization I'm really privileged to lead. There are others, the Arthritis Patient Advisory Board, the Canadian Spondylitis Association, the Canadian Arthritis Patient Alliance. We've all been doing knowledge translation. Some of us for a long time. At ACE, we're 20 years old now. And it intrigues. So we've been doing knowledge translation for a long time, and I'm curious. We'll close out our interview, Clayon, with this question. Do you think science is looking out to organically developed knowledge translation processes? Like, this is one of them. This Arthritis Broadcast Network grew out of our need to get the knowledge you have out to our membership and our followership and fan base.
So knowledge translation is many things.
Yeah.
And ultimately it's about return on investment.
Okay.
How do with all of that funds that's going into research, how can we have the correct impact where it's better in the healthcare system, it's better in clinical outcomes, and it's making that true impact, improving the lives, say, of people with arthritis. So I think that definitely the way forward is including patients, so that the return on investment is that the healthcare system is meeting the needs and the preferences of the individuals with the lived conditions, and moving even beyond that, and thinking about the public, because there is also public and population health research, so including individuals who would be affected by different health conditions.
So if I could, then I'll summarize by saying the public has a stake in what we all do together in research, and we're funding it through our tax dollars. And so fundamentally, we have, I would argue, a right to participate, because this money is our money. It's your and my money that we're spending. And there's enough science now, in fact, a mountain load that shows that the research, I think we're getting more and more confident saying the research productivity is improved by having patients engaged.
Exactly. And you said it better than I did.
No, not at all.
But what we've also been doing on our research team, we created what's called a workbook to guide the development of patient engagement in research, the peer plan.
And where can our audience find this?
This will be available. Actually, now it just got completed this week, so you're the first to show it.
Groundbreaking.
Very groundbreaking.
Okay.
And so it will be available at Arthritis Research Canada's website.
Okay, so that's arthritisresearch.ca.
Yes.
And if they go under the tools. So there's a section on the Arthritis Research Canada website, arthritisresearch.ca. Under the Tools tab, you can find this fantastic brand new workbook on how to engage patients meaningfully.
That's correct.
Beautiful.
Yes. And it's not immediately on the website.
No, but soon.
Soon,
yeah. Okay, big fist bump. Way to go. Thank you very much for joining us with Dr. Clayon Hamilton. We're always so happy to see you and to talk with you. We always learn a ton, and we appreciate the time you've taken to share with our audience.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.